Everybody knows salting a steak makes it better, but is there a best way to salt your steak? Today I'm preparing 3 identical steaks using 3 different brining methods: no brine, dry brine, and wet brine, to see which one results in the best steak. To keep this experiment fair, all 3 steaks will be cooked the exact same way. The only difference is in the preparation. Make sure to stick around to the end where we'll do a blind taste test to crown the superior steak. Who knows, you might have been salting your steak wrong your entire life. This is steak number 1, our control steak. We've done nothing whatsoever in terms of preparation. Instead, we're going to salt it right before cooking. This is steak number 2, our dry brine steak. Dry brining refers to salting a steak and then leaving it out, typically overnight, for the salt to penetrate through the meat, leading to flavor enhancement and tenderization. You'll notice a few hours after dry brining your steak that the surface is actually going to be wet. This is because the salt draws the moisture to the surface of the steak. Pro tip: never cook a steak that's been salt brined for a few hours. That salty brine hasn't been reabsorbed by the steak yet, and you're going to have no flavor enhancement or tenderization. And on top of that, water is the enemy of a good crust, and we don't want a sad steak. But after 6 hours of dry brining, something special happens. That salty brine is reabsorbed into the meat, leading to a more juicy, tender steak. This also leaves the outside of the steak bone dry, which makes achieving a great crust a piece of cake. And this is steak number 3, our wet brine steak. Wet brining refers to leaving a steak in salty water overnight to season. Similar to dry brining, with wet brining, salt is drawn into the muscle, leading to better flavor and more tenderness. However, with wet brining, you have one added benefit. More moisture is also drawn into the steak, which in theory should lead to a juicier one. Before we get on to cooking some steaks, I want to lay my predictions down. I think that the dry brine steak is going to have much better flavor and a better crust, and that the wet brine steak is going to have a little bit less crust, a little bit less flavor, but it's going to be the most juicy. As for which one's going to be better, or if the control steak's going to win out, I have no idea. That's why we're putting it to the test. All right, let's cook some steak. Grilling steaks over charcoal 101. Start by setting up a hot and cold zone on your grill and placing your steaks directly over the charcoal. To encourage the kiss of the flame, coat your steaks with beef tallow as they cook. This will help create a killer crust. Flip your steaks every 30 to 45 seconds to make sure the crust develops on both sides and the cook is even. I like my steaks rare to mid-rare, so I pull them off at 45°C internal. And finally, always allow those steaks to rest for at least 5 to 10 minutes for the juices to redistribute before slicing in. As predicted, the no brine and dry brine steaks had the best crust, while the wet brine's crust was lacking. The no brine steak was slightly thinner than the others, so it was more on the medium rare side, while both brine steaks were on the edge of rare to medium rare. But enough on how they looked. Now for the moment you've all been waiting for. How did they taste, and more importantly, which one was better? Okay, so we finally made it to another taste test. I brought back my beautiful wife to taste test the steaks. She has no idea what the difference is. We're going to go down the line and we're going to give our thoughts.
A few moments later.
It's good steak.
A little bit more salt,
Yeah, it could use a bit more seasoning here.
but I really like the tenderness.
It is super soft, isn't it? Barely chewing. Okay, moving on. Steak number 2.
Also, this looks like it's actually like put together more. What are you saying?
It's staying together more.
Definitely can taste the salt a lot more on this. I think it is more tougher.
This one I like better. A lot more flavor.
But it's not tough. It's just a little bit more of a bite.
Yes.
Moving on to steak number 3. Final steak.
Final steak. The rest have had a little bit more color. However, I feel like this one's a little bit just like,
Crust is a bit sad.
yeah.
Very salty as well. Maybe even more salty than that one.
Flavor's great. I don't see too much of a difference between either of these two.
Like the flavor.
Yeah.
Do you want to rank them first and then I'll tell you what they are?
1, 2, 3.
This was the worst one.
It's my least favorite out of the 3. Even though steak 1 didn't have as much of a flavor profile, I preferred the tenderness to it. However, the other 2 felt a little bit more. They're both quite salty. I think they're great steaks. Not that I wouldn't eat them, but I would prefer steak 1.
Or I'm gonna go steak number 2, steak number 3, steak number 1. Do you know what I did to them? So this one was just salted just before it hit the pan of the grill. This one was salted 24 hours before, and this one was wet brine, so salt water for 24 hours.
Oh. Oh.
So that's why the crust isn't as good, which makes sense because it's watery. So the flavor I'd say is pretty much the same on these. This definitely can't taste the seasoning as much, and the crust is definitely best on this one. So I think this has flavor, this has crust. I think number 2 is the best, the dry brine. All right, well, there you have it, guys. So dry brining, wet brining your steak. Flavor-wise, there's not going to be too much difference. There will be a significant difference on the crust though. Seasoning your steak just before it hits the pan or the grill. Suboptimal, but it's still going to get the job done. Hope you guys learned something from today. Happy grilling, and I'll see you in the next one.